Can everyone hear me? Perfect. Thanks for coming. My name is Mario Rodriguez, and I am a program manager in the Team Foundation server. I started actually in Team Foundation server back in 2005, and I was one of the PMs doing the first version control system that we shipped with as part of that. Before that, I actually joined Microsoft as a game tester. I worked playing games, which was a very, very nice gig to have, especially because they pay you to play games. And I worked in games like Project Gotham Racing and Forza, just racing games. That was my passion at the time. So it's been a very, very fun time at MS. So that's my email, and that is my Twitter handle if you actually want to tweet me, or if you want to leave comment live right now as well. So today, what I actually do, I don't do version control anymore. We have an excellent team doing that. I actually do the platform for the cloud services of TFS. I don't know if many of you guys know, but we launched a service. So we have the Team Foundation server on-premise, and then there's also a service offering on it. And that's what I spend the majority of my time on. So today's talk is going to be about source control. So if you don't like source control, you're not really going to enjoy this talk, okay? So just letting you know and setting expectations on that. And in source control, I'll let the guys come in. There's really two models in source control. There is centralized or there's distributed. And when you talk about these things, I put a shield up because whenever you actually are in any side of the equation, people get very, very, very passionate about it. I remember being in conferences where people will come in and tell me, centralized is nuts, what are you doing? And there's the same conference, someone is coming and telling me, DVCS, I can, distribute it, I cannot really understand what it is. And I really don't like it. So there's a lot of passion on both sides of the equation. So just for a show of hands, how many people over here worked on a centralized version control system? How many people over here worked on a distributed version control system? So there you go. So centralized people actually are the majority, and that's what we see in the industry as well. Now, the enterprise most probably is a reason because of that, but we also see it as small shops. There's really two models, and you either like one or you don't like one, or you don't like the other. For me, to tell you the truth, centralized, the main value add that it gives you is scale. We're going to go through a lot of other things that it also does, but the main thing that it really gives you is scale. So for enterprises that have a lot of files, it works really, really nice. It also does a couple other things, but the main thing, think about it, is scale. And distributed, I have never seen a centralized version control system that is good at offline. There are some that attempt to be good, but a very, very true offline experience you cannot really get on centralized. We could come close, and I'll show you some of that. Distributed gets that beautifully. They are meant for that. That is the scenario they solve. They don't have to be connected. They could do all the work within that machine, even if they lose power. So on modern source control approaches, what you see is the following. So it goes even a little bit deeper than that. You see a model that is a check-in and check-out model. This is where we started in TFS 2005. Let me just show you that really quick, just to kind of level set what we mean by this. And let's see if this works. Okay, we can see it over there. So I have over here Visual Studio 2013, very shiny new Team Explorer with this kind of tile icons. We also have this thing that is new. So we could actually list you the solutions within the team project that you're connected at. So you could connect to a team project, and automatically, when you do a get, we show you all of the solutions in here. So I have my solution. If I go to Solution Explorer, you can see I have a set of files. And the main thing is that they're locked. So whenever I want to edit a file, I'm going to have to tell the server, hey, I want to check out this file. So we could even go over here and show you what I mean. So if you go to Index and you go to Properties, the file is read-only. This is one of the sources of why people sometimes hate centralized version control systems as well. It's because sometimes they have a model where all of the files are read-only, and you have to tell the server that you want to do something with it. So if I come over here and I start editing, let's say, we're going to go check out for edit, and then we're just going to make a quick change. So I told the server that, and then we'll say, grade home page. And if I go back to my file, that doesn't refresh. And I go to properties. I could see the file is no longer read-only. So I could come in and check in this. So I go to Team Explorer, I go to pending changes, and then I'm going to say, great. Check in. Yes, I do want to do that too. So that's the model of check out and then check in. We'll go back to our PowerPoint now. And yes, that happened. Does anyone know how to not get that view? I'll try it again, and hopefully it works. Nope. Yeah, I'll let him do it. The view of it doesn't. Oh, there you go. Perfect. Let's see. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. So that's that one, and that was server workspace is what I just showed you. So that's essentially a server workspace. I check out, I check in. Those things, the strengths of that model is that it's very, very good for large code bases. You tell me, I'm the server, you tell me what you actually want to happen. I'll keep track of it, and then whenever we have to talk to each other, I already know the state that you're in, so I'm going to do the right thing for you. So if you have a source base of 20 million files, that is very, very, very efficient. And it also allows us to monitor. So if you ever want to answer things like who is working on this file, it's also very good at that because you're telling the server that you're working on that file. So it's best for large integrated code bases, and control and auditability is very, very good with it. The second model is an edit commit model. And this we actually introduced in TFS 2010 with a feature called Trivia. Who could tell me? There you go, you got it. Local workspaces. How many of you guys have used local workspaces? Well, a couple of you guys. We always joke that people should use it more and more. Now, clearly, it ships by default in 2010 that way, but if you actually are upgrading or doing something else, it does not. So I'll show you how easy it is to actually go ahead and transition your workspaces to that. So we'll go back. And by easy, I mean I'm being facetious on that because it's not that easy, to tell you the truth. And I don't know why he thinks that. OK. I know, it's not letting me. So I have that. I could edit. Here it is. So now my second dialog, you have to click Advanced. And in Advanced, there's this little thing here called Location. And I could go Location Server to Local. So you see, super easy. I go Local. I say OK. Now it's actually going to go and do a couple other things. I say Close. And voila, I'm working again. Let's open the solution. Go to Solution Explorer. And what you're going to see now, if we actually go in here, everything else should no longer be read-only. So now I could edit the file without ever telling the server, hey, I'm checking out this file. So this is a model that Subversion had, and a couple of people in the industry had as well. So it's an edit commit, and local workspaces is the way that you employ within Team Foundation Server to get into that model. So now I could just go over here, and let's open Contact. I don't know, Contact app. And then I could just save it. And what is going to happen is if I go to Team Explorer and I go to Pending Changes, we are scanning the system to try to see what has happened. We pick up that change, and now you see it in your Pending Changes window. And then I could just go ahead and check in my local workspaces. And that is it for that. So that's how you get into that mode. Let's hope that this doesn't happen again. And it did. So actually, we need to figure out how to fix this. But if not, we're going to have trouble. Maybe I should do the demos just one at a time and go through the slides first. Sorry for the technical trouble there. Hopefully we could come back. There you go. OK, so the next one is edit and commit, which is what I just showed you. And offline editing support is what is great. So if I'm ready to actually go on an airplane ride, I could go in, say, I want to transition from server to local. I could start editing. I come back. I connect. And then it's going to tell me, OK, these are the files that you have edited. Now let me allow you to check out. So easy, very, very easy to edit outside of the connected environment. The problem is we're scanning the files, right? We're scanning the file system, which means that it's not going to have great scalability. So if you have 10 million files, we're going to actually have to scan and try to see what you have edited. Yes, we do listen to events from Windows to try to say, I edited this file. But we cannot be 100% sure of that. Now, another very, very good thing of edit and commit is that whenever you, let's say you delete something locally and you do a get latest, it's actually going to go and get you the deleted file back. Something that the check-in and checkout won't do, because if you deleted something without ever checking out, the server doesn't know how to send you back the file. So if you have ever been in this situation where you have deleted a file and you do a get latest and you don't see it coming in, it's because the server doesn't know that you have deleted the file. In an edit commit model, you will never get into that. It always comes in, the deleted file always comes in as part of that get. OK, so that's a centralized version control system. So now let's talk about distributed. Distributed is, like I said, it's great for a great online experience. It's what it was meant to be. It has the complete repository within your machine, and all of the actions, meaning the whole code base of the server, it is within that machine as well. So you could do history, you could do merges, you could do anything you want within that. In an edit commit model, even on a centralized, you cannot do everything because some of the code that runs the logic lives on the server, does not live on the client. But in distributed, everything is within that client environment. And it has a very simplified branching model. The guys who have embraced distributed have done a very, very good job in actually thinking about branches slightly different than what we had done in centralized, and providing very, very nice set of workflows around it. So again, it's great for modular code bases, integration into open source. This is what made them famous. And then highly distributed teams. That's more or less the landscape today. OK? So a while ago, we noticed a change. And by a while ago, it's probably like 2 years ago or so, where the apps that were being developed and the way that people were using version control was changing. So what do I mean by that? The app architecture of like modern apps, if you take a Windows Phone app, if you take a Windows Store app, even on some of the new websites, is completely different than what you would think about previously. So the app model has evolved and has started to change. The architecture now of that app model is a little bit more loosely coupled than what it was before. You see a lot more frameworks allowing you to do that. So you could have different pieces that are modular, and you could have different teams working on those different pieces. The second thing is they're being written by teams all over the world, or they're being done by teams that are highly distributed as well. So if I am a shop and I want to, for example, outsource a Windows Phone app or a Windows 8 app, then I could do that and still work on my main thing. And that outsourcing might go to another place within the US, or it might actually go to India, APAC, Europe, any other places that has the expertise that I need. And then the other thing is the platforms. There's multiple platforms now that people actually work with. Before that didn't used to be the case. Now you have a lot of platforms that you have to test and you have to develop within as well. And open source has become more and more prevalent as well. So when we took a look at this change, we thought, you know what, we need to embrace DVCS. And at that point, when we were asking ourselves the question of, OK, what does it mean for us to embrace DVCS, there were really two main players out there. there was Git, and there was Mercurial. And actually, Mercurial was, so one Git was done by Linus, and then Mercurial was done by Matt, I think. I don't remember his last name now. But they started more or less at the same time when they were leaving Bitbucket. And Mercurial actually was getting a lot more press for being a better product, to tell you the truth. If you looked at articles by Google, if you look at articles by other engineering teams, because of the Windows support and other things, they actually were choosing more Mercurial than Git. But something else happened as well, which was GitHub. And GitHub essentially changed the game of DVCS, and it made it take off. And it made it to be the leading DVCS tool. So whenever you say right now DVCS, almost 100% of the time you're really saying Git. So that made it kind of an easy decision. Another thing that I had there is a deployment protocol. As you guys know, a lot of people use Git also as a deployment protocol to move files around. We call it the new FTP. So if I want to actually go and deploy something, I'm probably going to use Git. Some blogs are actually on the back end are Git. So it's a very, very efficient model for moving files around. So that made the decision very easy for us, and we decided to embrace Git. But we had a couple of principles, and we called it, we're going to do this right. We're not going to go and do something that is not going to be perceived out there by the community as, as cheating or not contributing. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to actually have 100% through Git. So we're not doing Team Foundation Git, or we're not doing Microsoft Git, or we're not doing Visual Studio Git. We're doing Git, and that's it. Okay? So it's 100% true to itself. And we went ahead and joined the community and collaborated with GitHub on it as well. So for example, libgit2, which is one of the main libraries that get used today both on the client and on the server by both us and GitHub. We joined that project, and we have contributed to it. So if you go and see, I don't know if you can see it very well there, but these are the top 8 contributors of libgit2. The 2 bottom guys, and they started before us, okay? Are Philip Kelly and Ed Thompson. Those are Microsoft employees. They are the ones that have rights to check in directly into libgit2, which not a lot of people actually have those rights. It's very, very, very hard. So libgit2 is a collaboration between us and GitHub at the moment. There's other people too that contribute. They're great. But we joined the community. We felt that this was something that we needed to do if we're actually going to go and embrace Git fully as well. So let me just give you then a quick kind of high-level view of the architecture of Git, so of what we have. So we have Team Foundation Server. You could create a team project today, and that team project can have a TFVC. We would call that Team Foundation Version Control. That's the thing that you have today, you love or hate. And then there's a source control provider and an object model for that. And then there's third party. So we have Eclipse, Shells, plugin, Team Explorer everywhere. Now, what we're going to allow you to do in 2013, and this is completely new, is we're going to allow you to go in and create another team project if you want to. But instead of having it backed by a version control TFVC, you could have it backed up by Git. So project 2 could be Git. Project 1 could be the normal VC. On the client, we also have a Git source control provider directly integrated into Visual Studio. And then we have the libraries that we use. Again, you could have local Git repos and work with those local Git repos. Or you could actually go ahead and clone something from someplace else, for example, GitHub if you want to. So that's what the architecture looks like. And we also have a series of third parties that plugged in into Git. And if you really, really feel adventurous in life, then you could go and do a Git TF. So for those teams that, for example, want a centralized version control but have a set of teams underneath to use Git, there's a way for you to actually do that in the enterprise. So that's at a high level what it looks like. So let me show you then. And we don't need this anymore. So we're going to go. I'm in GitHub right now. So there's this Git project, and I want to go in and clone it. So I'm going to Control-C this. What I'm going to show you right now is I'm going to take it, I'm going to put it on my machine, and then I'm going to push it into Team Foundation Service. So, and then after that, we're going to work on it through Visual Studio. So I'm going to go and copy that. This is going to be very low level because Git likes to be low level. So we're going to go in, and we're going to say, we're going to git clone. Git clone is very equivalent to doing a get, just doing kind of a sync in. So we're going to clone it, and we're going to say that we want it bare, and then we're going to say that we want to mirror it so it doesn't take that much time. And then we're going to have to put this URL. So let's copy it really quick. Hopefully this goes very quick. And then after that, we're going to go ahead, and what I have done over here, I have already created, let me see if I can show you. Yeah, so I have already created a project. In that project, I have said that I wanted Git on it instead of doing a normal. And here is my endpoint for cloning that. Let's just put it over here. Okay. So perfect. I have it cloned now. So I have it on my local repository. So now I'm going to go in and cd into it. So I think we name it cgit, right? So we're going to go into it, and then we're going to go in and push it to my Team Foundation service. So again, I took it from GitHub, and now I'm going to push it to Team Foundation service. So we're going to go and say git push, because that's the way you do it. And then we do have to specify this if we want it to be. And now we're going to go in and type build demo 13. Thank you. HTTPS, got it. Thanks, guys. You guys are on top of it. Yeah. Okay. Ours is a little bit bigger than theirs, right? Default collection. And then underscore git. And then we'll go and say cgit. And it's going to ask me for my username. It's going to ask me for my password. Oops. Hopefully, let's. Okay. So it's going to go and write the objects. It's going to go quick. And then it's going to go and finalize the push. And this is just to show you. I mean, this is 100% through Git. All I'm doing, everything is through Git tools that have nothing to do with Visual Studio. This client right now that I'm in is called Git Bash. And then if I go back over here, if I refresh, time of truth, guys, I should be able to see the contents of what we did. There you go. And I just migrated repository from GitHub to us. I could even see the history of everything that has happened in that repository while it was in GitHub. I didn't lose anything. And I have it over here. I could see all of my branches as well, as you can see over there. I could even compare them if I need to, look at the contents, and do everything else. So a full mirror from one place to the next one. Okay, perfect. So that's good. Yes? Yeah, you could do tags and, as well. So actually, not in history, but in contents, I think there is, or in branches, I think there's a way to do tags as well. So there you go. So in branches, you can go and do it. And there's another place I think you could also do some tag management on it. So actually, we have a couple of features within this as well. So if we go back to Explorer and And you could even manage the repository. So this is something that we have added ourselves. So now you could create even multiple Git repositories within your team project. So it's not only a one-to-one mapping like GitHub is or like other providers. We allow you to create multiple repositories per project. And not only that, we allow you to also have security administration through it. So I could see all of my readers over here, and then I could add people. So for example, I could go in and say added user. Let's add my boss. Is he there? Well, we could add Will. Save changes, and there you go. Now I could actually go and say, you know what, we allow him to administer that and save the changes on it. So you could. Can you do permissions on branches? Those features will come in more and more, but yes, that's the idea is that we get full fidelity throughout. So, and I will close that. And then let's go back. I'm afraid to go back to PowerPoint, so let me see what else I want to actually show you here before we go back to PowerPoint, and then we do all the PowerPoint together. So another thing is, so over here I'm connected to another Git repository. So the way to connect, and let me just show it to you really quick. If I go to Visual Studio 2013 Preview and open it, I could go in and switch this to be my other project. So, OK. So selecting projects. Let's just go in and say cgit, connect. So as you connect normally, you're going to see them here in the new connect page. And then you could actually come over here. And as you can see over here, you haven't cloned it yet. And you could go in and clone it from right there. So if you double click, it even tells you that you haven't cloned it. And you could either do this, and it tells you here too. So you're not going to miss to clone the repository. So you could clone it, and then you can start working on it locally. So I have another repository here that that I'm working on locally. And just to let you know. So the app that we're kind of working on is this. I built this with mobile services, Azure. So I have a quick to-do app. Hopefully it works. Test this. There you go. I could go ahead and say I already did all the possible demos. I got my account. I don't want to test this anymore. So working app, real code. You could go to it if you have a laptop right now. Just don't mess up with me too much. So. And then we have another one, which is vote. And you can start voting if you want to. Which one do you like better? Git hosted by TFS or Team Foundation version control. Let's go and even it up before you guys do anything. Like that, it is really 3-3. Fair game for everyone. OK, so this is my app. It's deployed, again, on Azure. This is real code. It's not fake. So if the internet leaves us, it's going to be really bad. So, and I have over here the vote app. And I have several branches. So if we go back to the home page just to show you. The Git homepage has changes, commits, branches. These are new, specific to Git. In TFVC, you have things like pending changes and those type of things. You don't have one called branches. So you could go to branches if you want to actually do your branch management. This way, it shows you what are the branches that you have locally and that have been published. You could go and see the commits that have happened. We don't have anything to push to the server, so that's why the commit view is completely empty. And we'll show you. And then changes are, what are the changes that I have done? So let's do a quick thing over here. So right now on the delete that I show you guys, it doesn't ask you for, do you really want to delete this or not? So it's very easy to delete things. So we're going to do that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to just add a quick pop-up that does that, and I'm just going to go over here. And I should not have done, what else, for this to compile for us. There you go. So really what I did is, are you sure that you want to delete this? Yes. OK, perfect. And I'm going to check it into my dev branch. I could do that, and then I could test it. I'm going to go in. I just saved this, so let me go and commit this change. Not only that, I even want to associate it with a work item ID. So we even support that as well. So I already know that I think the query shows me the open bugs. Let's see. So it's number 18. So all I have to do over here is set 18, and I say add, and there you go. So now I'm going to go commit the change to make sure we ask for delete. And then after commit, that commit was successful. But again, Git is different. All I have done is committed to my local environment. I have not pushed it up yet. So if I go over here and I see my commits, I'm going to see that the change is still local, and it needs to be go ahead and push to the server. So I could go into my commits and do that. I could just push over here, or I could go ahead and sync as well. So I could go and initiate the push, and that's it. Now I have pushed the changes to the server. So if I go back to the server now, let me just do, there you go, perfect, everything is fine over there. If I go back over here, and I say I want to see the branches, and I want to see the differences between the branches, I'm going to be able to see that change. So there you go. I have two changes that are different. I could even go in and look at the changes, all from right here. Not only that, I could go in and even do code commenting. So I could say this was a great change. I deleted things by mistake. Almost got fired. There you go. And then someone can reply, and then we could have a conversation on it. Now, don't confuse that with code review, because code review sometimes has a lot more workflows and things like that. But it's a very, very, very easy way to do code commenting. It's from the web. Very, very nice. So what I want to do now, I want to do a merge. So I am here, and if we go back to my branches, I could go in and merge. And I want to do it from dev to master, right? Dev to dev will not work. You're right. So dev to master, I'm going to do a merge. Merge conflicts. So we even have conflict resolution in Visual Studio. Again, other tools, you have to employ a lot of power to do this. I could say resolve conflict. Did it do it? Let me make sure. There's the diff. Yep. So if I want to compare the files, that's what I did. I think I'm going to keep, let's go and keep source on this one. Take source. Yes to all. OK. And now I have merged. I could commit my merge. Go ahead and commit it. And then if I go into commits, I could then have all of the things that I could push up. And everything is on the server. So now, if I go over here, and we're going to go and deploy my app, well, we changed a lot. Well, we'll see what happens. There you go. So we're going to go back to the app. We're going to refresh. And then if I go to to-do, and I say delete, oh, you did not work the way we're supposed to. Let's go and make sure that this had the file. So it was to-do.js. Most probably because of JavaScript caching. So let's see if we do something really quick. Can you create pull requests? We do not have full. Yes, you could create pull requests on it. Yes, I'm sorry. So let me just open it over here for a second so we can see. So I think it's actually doing, there you go. It was just caching the JavaScript. So now I could actually go and says, yes, it asked me, and it goes and deletes the task. Can you browse the repo locally? So that's a good question. Within Visual Studio today, you do not have the same functionality as, for example, Solution Explorer. So you cannot browse locally through that. But clearly, your file system is great at doing that, right? I mean, you just go over here, repos, boat app, and there you go. You're browsing right there. You can work from it from right here. If I edit, it will show up in Git as an edit. So if I just browsing the commits, yes. So if I go into where was it? You mean the history of an actual item? I don't know who's asking me that question. So, okay. So if I go ahead and yes, not through this view. It's only through the work. I'm sorry, it's not through Visual Studio today. The only place that you could do it today is from here. So, and we'll be adding those capabilities to the service. Yeah, it's still limited, and we're gonna continue going through the features on it and keep adding them. Actually, to tell you the truth, every quarterly release, cumulative release, our hope is to continue pushing new functionality to that V6 provider, so you guys can continue to get all the new features of it. So that's the idea there. All right, we don't have that much time remaining, so I want to go back quickly through the slides while you guys can do that. And I went to the wrong one. Okay, so like I said before, through Git, distributed, integrated with Visual Studio, and enterprise class support. That's another one of our principles. What do I mean by enterprise class support? One of them is we're going to make it very, very easy for you to install. If you have installed ever Git from other providers, you will see that it's really, really hard. It's really hard to host it yourselves as well. We're going to have support, so you could call 1-800-Microsoft and ask us questions on it. And we're going to service it as well. High availability, high scale. We already have it in the service, so we're already working on those things. Ease of management, integrated authentication, so ADFS and NT-element authentication out of the box. Enhanced permissions, we will continue working to make it better, to audit what changes have happened. That's one of the things usually within Git that people complain the most about is, allow me to audit what are the changes. ALM integration, you'll be able to build your changes, have all the fidelity that today version control TFVC has, and then localization. And anything that we'll provide to you at an enterprise level is going to be localized. So I just wanted to put this because usually before, this is what happened. A user will go to Twitter and says, TFS sucks. I go in and ask him, why. Well, I'm sorry. Tell me why it is. We do want to make it better. And they give me like 10 reasons. And then they say, hey, essentially all of them boil down to, it's a centralized system. You suck because you're a centralized system. Well, now we have an answer, which is, look, you could employ either a centralized system or a distributed version control system. And when we go and tell this story, usually what we get in response is something like this. And it's so funny that just one model or the other one just changes your view completely. And of course, if someone tells you that, you're going to have to reciprocate back. So it's up for you to choose. In reality, they're completely different products. To tell you the truth, Git is a completely different product than TFVC. Its core is completely different. But now you have the power. Now you could actually make the choice that is best for your organization, for your team, for your project. And you could also be sure that it's 100% Git, meaning you don't want to use this anymore. You could transition that easily to another provider if you want to. So we're very proud of that. So again, the decision is at the project level. Could you create multiple repos? And we went through a bunch of demos on that. I could give you more if time allows us to. So in source control, so now you have the power of choice in source control. In the development process, we already allow you to either do Scrum, Agile, CMMI. How many people use CMMI still? Good. I'm sorry for those that used it. But now you have the project, and the project can be Agile and use Git, or the project could be Scrum and use Git, or TFVC. And then also in platforms, we allow you to target this from different development environments. So you could have the project, for example, your iPhone, your iOS project could actually be hosted in Team Foundation Service in Git, and you could work on it through Xcode, and it will work perfectly. Same thing if you want to work from Eclipse or from any other client app. Okay? So then in Team Foundation Service details. So right now we have this in Team Foundation Service. It will in the Git support would also ship in Team Foundation Server 2013. There's a preview of it that I think you guys already have because it's probably one of the USBs. You could install it, go and play with it. You could create a team project, go and choose Git as the backend provider, and play with it and see if you like it or not. It's a little bit confusing at first if you're not actually used to it, but it's very, very fun. So let's see how much time we have left. Okay, perfect. So let's, I'm going to take a couple of questions, and then we'll do a couple of demos if we run out of questions that we didn't do. So.
Yeah, the on-premises, the TFS server version?
Yes.
Are the Git repositories going to be stored on the file system as regular Git repositories, or will they be in SQL like in TFDC?
Yeah, so that's a very, very good question. The question is, what is the architecture behind where we're storing these files, right? And today on the service, what we do, and then I'll go and answer the one on-premise as well. On the service, we actually have an abstraction layer that we call the file service. And the file service can either put information on, for example, Azure storage, which is where today, the majority of the time, we put the Git repos. We could put it inside of SQL, or we could put it in a file system, okay? In the service, we will store it actually on the SQL database. So whenever you do a detach and attach, you would add of the collection, for example, you will be taking your Git repos into another server if you want to. So everything is stored now at the SQL level, in the SQL store. It is not stored on the file system. So you don't have to have a different way of backup and restore or anything like that. You employ the same system as today. We take care of the rest. Any questions? Yes.
You showed in your demos, you showed linking work items to Git pushes. What's the story for Xcode? So say you're working in Xcode and you're connecting to Git, TFS Git, and you want to link the work item.
Yeah, so you do a hashtag and then the number, and then we'll go in and actually go and say, okay, yes, I'll go and look at this product within this collection. I'll look for that and then link it automatically. So you could do it. You don't have to do it all through through Visual Studio. You could do it outside as well. And we will I think right now, by default, it is set to resolve automatic when you do that. So it would resolve it.
Because right now we're the adventurous types and we use Git TF.
Yes.
When you have merge and things like that, the linking of the work items and the depth, it only links one, and then so you have some changes that are orphaned, and they're not all committed. So you're saying that story would be...
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Again, the security model in Acklink, with VC, you've got normal type Acklink, with the objects. What's it going to look like? Can you do folders? Can you ACL folders? What's it look like to say you're integrating with AD security?
So let me just show you. Oh, come on. So right now, the way it is set up, and you could do it both over here, and I just want to show you. Usually, whenever you go, for example, let me show you the difference. So like that, you could see what I mean. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Just to see what the question. Okay, so I'm over here on a TFBC project. And I could go over here and look at a folder, for example, and say security. The same thing over here. You could go in and say security, for example, right? And if you click security, then you actually go and get the security at any point throughout that. As of right now, if you actually go over here and do the same, you do not get the security. So right now, the main security model, it's at the repo level. It is not at the file item level. But as I showed you, our goal is to actually be enterprise class, which means that what we want to do is go in and do security at the file level as well, and do auditability at the file level as well. So it's a...
How would you do that if it's all flowed locally?
I know, so it becomes challenging, so that's why it hasn't been done yet, but doesn't mean it cannot be done. We're working towards way to actually bring that enterprise support back into it. So it is not there as of this moment, but it will be there. Now, I cannot promise you when, but it will be there. So.
You mentioned the ease of installation.
Yes.
Is it akin to Git for Windows, where it's kind of...
No, you just... so I mentioned the ease of installation. You just install TFS.
Okay, and does that install
No, Git Bash, no, because that's a client tool, and we cannot go and provide it for people. If not, we get sued. But so all it does is it installs TFS and installs Git and provides that.
Yes, Git, the momentum for Git has moved very quickly.
Yes.
It probably hasn't moved as much for VC. And looking in 3 to 5 years, you see a lot of momentum and a lot of even enterprise groups moving over to Git, or what do you think?
I think it depends. I think modern apps, to tell you the truth. So the question is, where's the momentum right now in the industry? And I think the momentum is actually at the app level, where there's modern apps, and there's a lot more development being done on those things. And I think if you have a distributed team and you have a modern app, it is very nice. Git does very nice. It has very nice features to help you with that model, right? But now, if you're talking about an enterprise app that has significant amount of code, it has some legacy components as well, the development is not very distributed, you have to secure it a lot more, we don't see people moving away from TFVC anytime soon to Git. We haven't, and we wouldn't, and we don't think we're going to do that anytime soon. Now, eventually, would those things also migrate to a distributed? Maybe, but I'm not 100% sold that that would be the case yet. I think right now what we have is there's a model that works very good for centralized. It's a model that works very, very good for distributed. The majority of people are going to be in hybrid if you're a large enterprise. If you're a small company, you're probably going to choose one, and that's it. So that's the way that I think about it. But we're not discontinuing support from TFVC at all, by the way. We will continue to support and do new features on it. So expect innovation in that space as well. But for right now, at least the next year and a half or 3, I don't see any big change. Now, for enterprises that are adopting modern apps, I do think that Git is going to start getting into those enterprises a lot more.
How about combining different source control systems under one team project? For example,
yeah, that would be like, yeah, I guess. So the question is, can you combine TFVC and Git in the same team project? And the answer is no, because it makes my head hurt, and to tell you the truth. So if I'm thinking about, I'm looking at this file, and then all of a sudden I'm going to do commit, no, that's checkout, I'm sorry. So it becomes really hard. So that's why not. It is technically possible, to tell you the truth, okay? It is just very confusing from a user perspective, so I don't think we're going to allow that anytime soon.
For example, with last Scrum template, we plan for the different projects inside one template. We have one burn-down chart, but we have different tools to develop those parts of projects. Xcode, Visual Studio. So what would we do?
Yeah. So the question is, I have a project and it has one kind of project management, but I have different version control tools and things that I use for the source control. I think the best way to do that, to tell you the truth, is to actually get that team project and divide it into teams. So if we go back over here, and I go into...
But we have only dashboard.
You have only what?
The dashboard for Scrum.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you could still go in and divide your project. So if I go to home over here, or actually work would be better for us. I could go in and have multiple teams. Like, for example, demo app is one team, but I could create multiple teams, and then each one of those teams can have different ways of actually working with the project. Now, yes, all of them have to be Scrum, but you could have different teams underneath it. And then all of those teams can have kind of different backlogs and manage your backlogs slightly different. So this demo app team is going to be different than my boat app team and things like that. Let me go and really quick show you what I mean. So I could create a new team over here and say team 2, yes. Okay, and then if I go back into here, so even though I am in the same demo app, I could have multiple teams. And those multiple teams can actually go and have multiple backlogs. And in those multiple backlogs, I could manage the work that they're doing differently. But the version control has to be the same on the back end. Yeah.
Will all the other two foundation server features such as build, CUDA testing, or task be feature parity with Git?
So we'll get to feature parity eventually. Build, for example, it's, I think, in the latest release now that we have, is you could actually go and set up CI builds to build that solution. So that will be there, but not all of the features have parity today, but we'll go and work to get all those in parity. So, and then I'll come back to you, I'm sorry.
I missed the first part, I don't know if you talked about it. Do you have the availability of migrating from one type to the other?
Migrating from one type to the other. Yeah, so if you mean like, can I take something from over here and all this history and then transfer it to something that looks like Git? No, that's really, really hard to do. So if you want to take, a system that was this way and make it a Git system, it's a little bit hard. Now, most probably there's probably money to be made in there. So my guess is it's going to be third-party developers that are going to have tools to transition VC with history into Git. And then we'll probably use some of those things. And then after that, then you could just push immediately.
There's Git TFS is already.
Well, Git TF is one way, yes. But I'm saying that if for ease of use, I don't know if Git TF is the best way. Git TF is really meant to actually transfer things back and forth.
TFS. Similar project hasn't got something yet.
I gotcha. So I'm not familiar with that one. I gotcha. So there you go. There's already one. Tell you. Codeplex is probably going to have it or someone like that. It's on GitHub. Gotcha.
My question is, does the server side, like the TFS server, does it support like repository hooks? So, like when I do a push, can I put a hook in there to like trigger a build server?
Yeah. So the question is, do we actually have service hooks, very similar to what GitHub support is today? Right now, it only lives in Codeplex. Do we want it in TFS? Yes. And that's all I could say on that. But right now, no. But we really, really like that feature. Let's just say it that way.
The code comments that you showed us,
Yes.
where are those actually stored? In the files or?
I do. That's a good question. They're stored in SQL, definitely. Okay, so they're preserved there. I do not know where they are stored if they come in or come out. But I'll get you the answer. Give me after, and then I'll get you the answer on that. I don't know if it goes in. Clearly when you do a get, I think you see them there too. But I don't know on the back end where we're storing it. My guess would be another table, to tell you the truth.
I'm wondering if they would be available if we weren't looking at TFS, like if we were just using another.
Yeah, correct. So I need to find that out. But yes, I agree with you on that. Hopefully it is there for you to explore.
You showed everything with the T-Foundation services. When will this ship with the on-premises TFS?
So it would be on 2013. That's when it will ship. Now, we don't have a date yet when 2013 ships. So, yes.
You currently have very good best practice guidance for TFS VC. Is there anything, gets very arcane in terms of trying to train people on that. What's the branching model that you recommend?
Yeah.
So forth?
So we have a series of patterns and practices and things like that we're going to be releasing as actually Git hits mainstream and we ship the product. So expect the same kind of support that we have for TFVC to having Git on the sense of consultants and patterns and practices and presentations and things like that. So.
You mentioned the Git stuff that we're coming on-prem in 2019. Is that kind of the general model of TFS going forward? Is new features show up online and eventually on-prem?
So the question is that the new model where we show up on the cloud first and then on-premise? So we ship the cloud every 3 weeks. So you could more or less think that, yes, the majority of the time is going to first show up on the cloud. And then after that, it's going to go ahead and show on-premise. Now, that is not going to be 100% true all the time, okay? So I would say that for a set of features, that will be true. But for other ones, we will probably hold them. What we will do is probably put them on what we call private preview or some type of kind of NDA agreement that people can go and test it on the service first. And then we will go and either dual release them or release them only on-premise at times.
Well, and are there features, are we going to start seeing features eventually that never make it on-prem?
Maybe. There will be very few. There's some of them that you could only do, for example, on the service that we cannot do on-premise, like for ability to authenticate Microsoft accounts. That's one of them that never is going to make it to on-premise, at least not in the near future. And then vice versa would be a feature that I think we released that is called Code Lens. I don't know if you guys saw it in TechEd, but it's really, really neat. So it gives you the ability to actually have this HUD view on your code and on your methods. That is only on-premise today. It's not yet on the cloud. So it goes both ways on it. But the majority of the things will probably be on the cloud first. Any other questions? Yes.
Is the TFS release linked with the .NET platform at all through the Visual Studio release cycle, or will it ship when it's ready?
And let me see if I understand the question. So the question is, what is the release cadence of the Team Foundation server on-premise?
Yes. Will that have to wait for a new Visual Studio version?
Gotcha. So right now, the majority of the time, there's a lot of reasons for it. We actually are, you could say, attached to a Visual Studio release. So Visual Studio 2013 is coming out. Team Foundation Server 2013 is coming out. I would say that will continue to be true, except in cumulative updates. It might be that Visual Studio does a cumulative update and I don't do one, or it might be that I do one and Visual Studio does not. Now, that would be weird, but it could happen. But the majority of the time, you're going to see those together. Just from not even marketing, just from a customer perspective, it's so much easier that if you go together than if you go separate, because now you have to keep it track. Okay, this ships on March, that ships on, I don't know when. So that's why. But the majority of the time, it's that. But you could adopt one without adopting the other one. So.
Right now, Visual Studio 2008, 10, 12 can attach to TFS 2012. Any compatibility issues there? If I want to have somebody that's 2008 to 10 attached to like Git features that we're talking about here.
I think right now we only ship a V6 plugin for 2010. I do not think we're extending support past that right now. That's not to say that it's not up to change, because we usually make these decisions very late in the cycle. And plus, we could actually go ahead and put and hotfix or put a GDR out for those people at a later date. So right now, I think it goes to 2010 only, from what I have seen, and not past that. So, but we'll continue the same compat model. Yes.
If my memory serves me, I think jQuery or some group has something called sub-projects, and I remember that was not in your implementation. Is that something that you're going to support? Is there some features of Git that you don't support now that you intend to in the future?
So because it's not Microsoft Git, everything that Git supports, we support, more or less. Now, on the tooling side, so on the server side, everything that they support, we support. On the tooling side, different people have different ways of doing that. So I don't think there's a concept of a sub-project at the Git level. There's only repos, and that's it.
Sub-modules.
Huh?
Sub-modules.
Okay. So if Git supports it, we will support it. So there's no difference on that end. SharePoint integration. Gotcha. So in Office, so there's a product I think called Napa that allows you to actually go ahead and do Office 365 apps and connect them to different places. So from the web, and then you could also go in and download the SharePoint tools and connect them. So through our object model, you could do what you're saying. You could go ahead and download the object model of TFS. And if you want to interact with version control or with work item tracking, you could do an Office 365 app that shows you those things. It's a little bit trickier because our REST APIs are not as developed as other ones. So you're going to have to go into more C# code rather into deeper into the system. But other than that, it is possible to do that. And I have seen it done, actually. So we only have 1 minute, so I'll take one more and that's it. Well, I took 2 more then. Who else was there?
Okay, I guess we'll start at 10. So we do enterprise, so we want to do modern apps.
Yes.
We also have SSIS, SSDT, for SQL. That's all integrated in Visual Studio, but is there a problem from a version control standpoint, in terms of getting that back and forth, or you think that'll be a good experience for people who use those tools? They just have to learn the get way of commits and so
I think for the majority of the part, it will be they have to learn the new way, and that's it. Now, if you're going to be outside of Visual Studio, it's going to be tough because Git's client support of features outside of VS will be mainly command line today, right? And it will take a while for it to develop a rich ecosystem in Windows to offer that. But we're the ones pushing pushing it forward as much as we can on getting complete feature parity from a client perspective on it. So, but if you're within Visual Studio, I think those people will be fine. So you will just have to get used to the new model. Okay, thank you guys.